And I think we are recording. So you guys, thank you and welcome. I'm just gonna change my view here a little bit. There, good. Well, I just want to welcome to What the Health. I feel so honored that you're here today, and I truly hope that you will find value now, today, so that to help you with your health journey, to maybe help you reclaim your health, especially if you've been struggling or suffering with an autoimmune condition. My name is Lisa Lottie Weiland, and I am a wife, a mother of 4 adult children, a holistic physical therapist, a lifestyle medicine practitioner, a gluten-free, certified gluten-free practitioner. I also specialize in subconscious healing through the rapid reprogramming method. My mission is to help my clients feel better. As one of my clients said, to find that joy in the moment, to wake up in the morning, not just hurting any longer, but having more energy, and to release the guilt of feeling like you're being sick and not being present for your family or your loved ones. And I am here with my dear friend, Kim LaChapelle. We say that we're autoimmune warriors and advocates. And Kim, has an amazing story of healing and reclaiming her health and life. Today, both Kim and I are going to start with, share our stories. We want this to be really conversational. We don't want you to think that we are claiming to cure, treat, or mitigate any diseases, but we do want you to notice and to pay attention. What happened to our bodies when we decreased inflammation and incorporated some pillars of health rooted in lifestyle medicine. So, what is an autoimmune condition? Simply, it's an out of control inflammatory response where the body's own immune system ends up attacking its own tissue. We know that there's more than 100 autoimmune conditions, all driven by chronic inflammation. And they've already science has kind of developed like autoimmune formula. We often have a genetic predisposition, but if you combine that, adding like, how are you living, like lifestyle factors, what is your stress level? What is your sleep level? What is your diet looking like? Plus some type of environmental trigger or exposure, like EMF, constant EMF exposure, radiation, toxic chemicals, and that could be like mercury or heavy metals, viruses. And then the other component is, what does your internal environment look like? What does your gut health look like? Do you have good bacteria or bad bacteria? What is your own body's natural antioxidant production looking like? And do you have a leaky gut? Meaning, there's some type of intestinal permeability. So chronic health symptoms are becoming more and more common. And we talk about this autoimmune spectrum, from very light symptoms to full out blown symptoms and tissue and organ damage. And oftentimes they start with, like this profound fatigue, pain, depression, insomnia, anxiety, headaches, low energy, bloating, brain fog, hair loss, swollen joints, body aches. And there's just so many symptoms that have become common. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this too, that is like, we just say, oh, you're just getting older. It's part of aging. But these symptoms may be common, but they are not normal. I want you to really break the myth that just because we're getting older that we should accept some type of disease process or unwellness. That doesn't have to be the case. And Kim, how about you? I mean, did any of these symptoms like respond, did you resonate with anything that, I mentioned with the symptoms?
I feel like the the worst symptom with an autoimmune disease is the fatigue. And I think that's across the board with, I don't know for a fact, but I'm not a doctor, so I don't know for a fact if that's a symptom with everyone, but it seems like it. Um, I've talked to several people in the last couple of weeks that, have fatigue, and it's just paralyzing. It's
Yeah.
just it's not just being tired, it's going to bed and napping if you can nap, and getting up and being tired. It's, gosh, can you even drive up the street? It's
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
debilitating. You can have a
Yeah.
nice conversation. You can have a nice conversation with whatever your abilities are, if you can think and be present, right?
Yeah. And that, I feel like that was one of my big, like you said, almost debilitating. It was like this profound fatigue. I would say I'm beyond tired. Like I had this fatigue behind my eye. My 70-plus-year-old mother used to have to come over to my house, and we would do this would be on my off days from work. So I was still working in the clinic. And just so I could get through the day, and especially like through supper and have enough energy for the next day, she would come over so I could nap. And I kept thinking, it's like, am I just gonna nap my life away? And it was so, I remember being so sad, like, that my mama was, I called her the Energized Bunny, and here I was in my 40s, and she had more energy than I did.
Oh, I love some words that you're saying, because we'll have some commonality as we talk about how things changed for us. But I remember my kids, they went to a charter school, and it was about 10 miles away. And I, first of all, didn't know if I could have the energy to just drive them to school. And then I remember sleeping at one of my daughter's friends' house during the day. Her mother would let me stay there and nap, so that I could just, pick them up after school. So I wasn't that mom. I wasn't in that group of moms that was at Starbucks and, you know, while all the kids were at school. I was sleeping at the house next door. So
Yes, yeah. Well, Kim, let's get into your story. I'm really curious and fascinated. Maybe kind of paint a picture of what your life looked like, and then what happened? What did you start noticing?
okay, so I have to go way back to 1984. 1984. I was a junior in high school, and at the prime of my life, right, thought I took really good care of myself. I was thin, I was an athlete, I thought I ate well. I don't think that's a component, I believe, in what how all this unfolded. I was I don't know, mine more type A personality. My husband that I met that same semester in high school, we balanced each other out. I stressed about it um, a lot of things that didn't matter. And at that semester, junior year in high school, I started to get symptoms of the numbness in my fingers and down the right side of my body. I was My energy was decreasing. I just didn't feel like my mobility was as good as it was. I could still play tennis when I was feeling okay. Um, but things just started to change. I thought, my goodness, what's going on here? Because otherwise everything was perfect. So what is it that happened? And like you said, it's 17 years old, but you're aging from the moment you're born, right?
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, having numbness and tingling as a 17, I mean, I would think that there'd be confusion and almost fear, like an unknown, like what's going on with my body.
And I stopped being able to. These things went away with time back then, but remember, I needed to take a test, and I couldn't hold on to a pencil. And yeah. And all of a sudden, I had medical professionals as parents, and so off to the doctor we went, where I was, where he asked me to write for long periods of time when I couldn't write. That's a stress that I clearly remember. I didn't really remember until about now, but he would leave the room and maybe see another patient or something. I was 17. I didn't know what he was doing, but anyways, he would have me write until he came back. So I would follow the directions. So anyways.
And you know how, I mean, because this is also really common with autoimmune patients, especially in those early years, like when you don't know what's going on. I mean, it can be anywhere from 5 to 11 years to get a diagnosis. You're seeing, you have multiple doctors of visits, multiple doctors you're seeing. And, you know, oftentimes you can't even get a diagnosis until there's been enough tissue damage or there's enough antibodies in your blood to get a diagnosis. Was that your experience?
No, that was not the case with me. I was diagnosed through an MRI, but the doctor told my parent I was going to be going to college, and they told them not to tell me what that diagnosis was. So, because like I said, it kind of came and went. So just let her go to college and experience it. And then I started to have more issues in college later, like towards the end of my education there.
And what were those issues, or how did things progress? And
the fatigue was very challenging. The anxiety, sleep. I just didn't feel as strong as I was.
mhm.
So I started to be more conscious about my movement. Whereas, just run and play, right? Or you do whatever, you can walk to your classes, right? But
Yeah.
I found that I was thinking about those basic things a lot more.
You know, and I thought this was interesting because, like you know, I thought I was healthy. I mean, I defined myself as an athlete and being conscientious as far as, you know, like what I put in my body and on my body. And I remember sitting in my doctor's office and just like, you know, how did this happen? You know, I thought I was doing anything right. And like you, I realized that for me, you know, when I talked about that little autoimmune equation where stress, you guys don't underestimate what stress can do to the body and how it can trigger and really influence your well-being, because that's what I didn't realize, like the amount of stress and the body doesn't know good and bad stress. So there was, you know, like being a high achiever and, you know, trying to be the top of your profession. My husband and I were trying to get pregnant. So there was, you know, a lot of stress. I was an endurance athlete, so that puts also a whole another amount of stress on the body, kind of like what you said, and a little bit more maybe that type A perfectionist. But then also, as I came to learn, I did have like a food trigger. And when I looked at, you know, what I know now and looking back, gluten for me was definitely a trigger. So I could really started identifying like, oh, stress, lack of sleep, diet would be like if I would go into a flare, then I knew I needed to look at those issues.
Definitely. I thought I was healthy and doing the right things, but back then, being thin was really important. Um, to my family, to my mother especially, and so that was my goal, was to be active, but also not to overindulge in things.
Yeah.
Which was, like I would drink Tab like it was going out of style.
Oh, like we are so much alike. I remember running with my sister and then having Tab as our little treat afterwards.
Yeah,
So,
Tab.
yes.
Mhm. And then my mom was on some sort, well, I won't say the weight loss program, but and I decided to join her.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So tell me I mean, as time went on, then where did you find yourself?
Now, I found all of those things definitely getting more intense. The fatigue got much worse. I think the energy is
Allison. Oh,
the energy. Whoops.
I'm just going to ask you to mute yourself, Samsung. Let's see here if I can. Okay. I don't know if I can mute you. Kim, do you know? Let's see here. Oh, I think I can. Okay.
Yeah, she
Okay,
looks like
Kim.
she did now.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so as you're coming out of college, coming into your adult years, then what was happening?
I started on medication through a doctor, and when things would kind of come and go for a long time, or I would get to take steroids, and it would kind of shock my system back into the way it was. So I wouldn't say I enjoyed the medication, but it did make me feel better.
Yeah, and that's
Against,
I felt like
I'm not necessarily against medication. It does have its place, and I'm really confident that it kept me from declining as much as I could have.
right. Absolutely. I remember when I had to go on prednisone bursts, that's when I would feel like the saddest, because
Oh,
I felt like, oh, 25 milligrams of prednisone has been taken out of my life. You almost forget what it feels like to be normal, like to feel good and normal. And I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like,
when you took it, you
when I
felt
took it. Yeah.
oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. But like you said, it addresses inflammation, right? That's
Yes.
what the goal is with with the use of Solu-Medrol or whatever else you're going to be using. So
Hmm.
the goal is to decrease the inflammation because that's really critical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because remember, all these, and all these 100 autoimmune conditions are driven by chronic inflammation. 1 in 5 Americans have an autoimmune. They're somewhere on that autoimmune spectrum. That's 50 million people that are suffering with not feeling well.
Mm, that's incredible. I
Yeah.
believe that. And I can see why well, 1 in 5 is a lot, but we as a country, we're not healthy. It's not.
Yeah.
So
So what was your turning point, Kim? Like, okay, how bad did it get? And then when did you start learning how to maybe decrease your inflammation a different way, to start really incorporating what I call pillars of health, being aware of other things to do to decrease stress or decrease inflammation or changing your diet? Um,
I really feel like I was pretty well rounded as far as what was in my control. I would do, listen to things to de-stress. I would knew the importance of moving, even though it wasn't like other people would move. I did move, and then and went to bed. But I think that it did really start changing. Probably about the middle of probably about 2008, I would say. But 2013, my kids were leaving me. I know you know what that means. They
mhm.
were growing up and leaving me like they should, right? And I thought, well, what in the world am I gonna what's the purpose here? Right? They're leaving
Yes. Yeah.
what so limited on what I can actually do for myself. And I remember being on my hands and knees in my closet praying, what am I going to do when they leave me? And they were just getting older. And about 3 months after that, a former neighbor called me, and she said she was brave enough to pick up the phone, right? And she said, "Hi Kim, I have something that I think might help you." And she didn't worry what I was going to say. If I'm not interested, fine. But um, that's why one of the reasons we're sharing is that it may or may not be for you, but we have the obligation. I have the moral obligation to share what we know that really helped. And so I thought, well, what in the world do I have to lose, right? I don't have anything to lose. I did run it by my physician, and she said, well, this is like eating a salad, but I don't know that it's going to do anything for you. And I thought, well, I'm going to just try it. So outside of marrying my husband and having my kids, that was really the best decision I've made, honestly.
Well, Kim, you said something that I think is also really common that I just want to share with autoimmune, because there's sometimes some typical phrases that we often hear, like there's nothing wrong with you. Your labs look fine until they're not. You're beyond me. There's nothing I can do for you. It's all in your head, these symptoms. Um, you need to be taking medication for life. So don't worry that it says it can, in my case, cause cancer or liver failure or damage, or you're just depressed. And the big thing that Kim just said, food has nothing to do with autoimmune conditions.
That is so true. No, I not once did anybody talk about nutrition. In fact, remember when I would go get infusions, there would be, in there, what they had to offer was sugary drinks and typically bakery goods. So that was what was provided.
Yeah. So with your learnings, like what for diet wise, if we were to give like, ideas, things to look for as far as diet, like what was there a connection? Was there a trigger for you at all?
I think getting away from and learning about carbonated drinks, the impact that that's having on your body is, whatever the sweetener is in there. And it's just an awareness that it just didn't have at that young age.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're just out having fun and it's exciting, right? But I went lowered the carbs, took out the white pastas and those type of things, and started eating more fruits and vegetables, and giving my body food, but good food.
I call it real food versus food like substance. Yeah. I mean, we know that there are inflammatory foods, and that is a little bit different for each person, but the big ones are, sugars and processed foods and, gluten, dairy, corn. So if you're struggling and looking at little changes that you can do as far as dietary, those would be some very beginning things to do. Sometimes it's hard taking foods out, but adding things in, like a little more vegetables or fruit, those are really, really beneficial. And being aware of, is there high fructose corn syrup? Reading labels, gluten is hidden in salad dressings and in lunch meats and in soy sauces. So really starting to look at labels. And Kim, you started talking about things that your neighbor approached you. So why don't you tell a little bit about what you did to decrease your inflammation naturally, and kind of why one of the reasons we're on this call.
Well, I started what she exposed me to and shared with me was an herbal product that's a combination of it's an exact recipe of 5 herbs, and it was proven to reduce that inflammation, oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days, and in everybody. and she showed me a news piece, and I thought, well, why don't I know about this? And watched it a few times, and again was willing to, it's like eating a salad, it's not going to hurt me. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me at that point. So I started taking that, and decreasing the inflammation was really key.
Yeah, that's, and that's so interesting. I feel like we have so many similarities. And because I had a dear friend, the same thing, knowing that I was on this journey of reclaiming my health. And you don't realize once you've lost your health, how difficult it is to reclaim it. And I had already identified gluten as my personal trigger, one of my personal triggers, along with stress and sleep. And I also was learning of this idea of healing my gut microbiome, increasing the good gut flora. But this new concept, when my dear friend Angel called me and said, Lisa, I think I found something that can decrease your inflammation, because I was still struggling. Even though I was feeling better, I still had that profound fatigue, and still, flare-ups and breakthroughs of, especially when I was stressed. And I kept saying, when you said, why haven't I heard of this? I had been in healthcare for 30 years, and I didn't even know that our body made its own natural antioxidants. I thought you had to take it in pill form or eat it. But when you realize how many blueberries or how many oranges that you have to take, it's just not possible. Of course, we're advocating eating the rainbow, eating healthy, because that's so important. But that was my big wow when I started decreasing my inflammation by turning on these genetic pathways and letting my body own built-in ability to decrease inflammation was like a game changer, a big wow for me.
And some of the medical community does know about how to do this. It's just, it's going to be in a synthetic way, right? So if
Yes,
I had an option that didn't have the side effects that perhaps that would have had, why not give it a try, right? If you
absolutely.
have options, you might as well. For me, that was my choice.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not opposed to anything that my doctor said. However, I clearly have changed over the last decade. So
Yeah, I feel like, because it's a learning journey, right? And like what we said, especially with autoimmune, if you're in a full flare or things, you need to stop that inflammation like right now, and working with your physician. Thank goodness, for modern medicine. But there's a lot to be learned. I think with chronic inflammation, there's still so much out there that we're learning to make an impact with lifestyle medicine.
right, it's
Mhm.
exciting. It's all God's pharmacy, right? And so let's start there. That's what all
Yeah.
these things put on the earth to do. And we
Yes.
cited that with all our processed food, and the fast mentality of just let's just eat something.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Well, Kim, what I and maybe I'll just show the bottle here. So you guys, this is our signature product called Protandim NRF2. It is clinically proven to decrease that inflammation by 40% in 30 days. We call it the little yellow activator, because it's activating your own genes that are designed to decrease inflammation. It increases your own antioxidant production. And so it is like what Kim and I did. We took it, we felt it, and we have this profound, um, you know, um, like we just want to share it because we know what it did in our own bodies
How can you not
to feel
share it,
better.
right? How can
What's
you
that?
how can you not share it?
Yes, exactly.
Can you not share it? And it was 30 years until I found out about this. So at first that was like, why did I have to wait so long? Why didn't I learn about this sooner? But honestly, I really think that I was put on the planet you know, you have in a high degree, you need to know what people go through. I know what people go through, and I can talk to them like I can talk to you, and you understand what the fatigue is like, right? Um, so I really think I was put on the earth to share this with people.
My same thing is like, why me? Is like, especially when it becomes personal, like everything that you enjoy doing, you feel like is being taken away from you. And things that happened to you in the past then become your passion, because I want to decrease the time that women, like for you, like you were struggling for 30 years. For me, it's been 15 years. If I can decrease that time for women to feel better, to learn what their purpose, what their passion is, and maybe even change generational health, so that they can pass on things to their daughters or sons or grandchildren to make that difference, to have that healthier world, is kind of my mission.
30 years were really interesting, but looking back on it, I don't necessarily think I would change anything because I changed me as a person. It's that type A personality, and I think I'm more compassionate and a better friend. I know what's really important in life. My priorities are pretty straight, and again, everything is perfect. So I was perfect. So I don't know that I could have communicated with people the way I do now. So just do I want to go back? Absolutely not. Am I grateful that I found something that helped me? Of course, every single day.
Well, Kim, we talked, about the NRF2 activation. Is there anything else with the Life Vantage products that was maybe another big wow for you that made impact?
Definitely. Our nootropic, which is called Axio. I'm actually coincidentally drinking it right now. It just grounded me. It gave me, it centered me. It gave me also at the same time, gave me more focus and mental clarity. I do drink, I drink it every day. My husband does as well. It's not just for people who are tired, right? The general world is tired. A lot going on. But I found that this really, really impacted, my ability to be more centered and focused, and definitely more energy. So I would say those two, along with gut health, which, as you said, was so important.
Yes, let's talk about gut health. I love gut health.
Yes, if you want to
because we know Hippocrates says that all diseases start in the gut. So really healing your gut is so critical, especially in autoimmune conditions.
And at first I was taking a probiotic that we have, and then adding the prebiotic when it came out was really an advantage. That's a special product. That's a special product.
Yeah. So you guys, I'm just gonna.
I noticed something with everything. Life Vantage is such an authentic and science-based company. I try everything, and I find that the more I flip on different processes in my body, the better. It's a layering effect, right? Mm-hmm. It only gets better and better.
Yeah. I'm just going to define a few things, because sometimes, again, it's so easy to think it's like, oh, we've lived this, we know this, and we talk about terms. So probiotic is just basically the good bacteria that is found in your gut microbiome. It is just so 80% of your immune system is found in your gut. That's why it's really important. They call it a symbiotic relationship, because we need those to stay healthy. And then a prebiotic is basically just food for your good bacteria. It's mainly fiber, and it feeds them, because we can't starve them. And this was another interesting thing when I look back on my own journey. As a teenager, I struggled with some acne and was put on high dose for a long time, antibiotic. And then a couple months right before I was diagnosed, I was having kidney infections. And I remember being in the hospital for almost a week with IV antibiotics. And that was in August. And then by October, I was starting to have multiple swollen joints and the fatigue was starting. So again, I'm looking back and knowing what I know now, I can make some connections where I just had wiped out my good gut flora. Now people are oftentimes going on antibiotics and then starting, a probiotic afterwards. But this was, late 90s, early 2000. You didn't know about. And then of course, when I was in high school in the 80s, no one knew about
I was gonna say,
probiotics.
isn't it exciting that we know people are more aware of it? I wouldn't necessarily say it's mainstream, but there's you see probiotics everywhere. Not that they're all created equal, but
Right.
It's exciting for people. I don't know how to say this. It's exciting when people are perhaps diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, that we are just more aware of options.
Yes, options. Exactly. Exactly. Versus like a not a death sentence, but I still remember sitting on that table because I'm like, you mean my joints are going to feel better, but I have 4 small children and I'm going to die of cancer, because of the side effects, but yeah, if this, Kim, I feel like you and I are so similar. If this does anything, this webinar is that Kim and I want to give you that hope that life can be better, that it can be different, that you don't have to settle for not feeling well. And like you said it so beautifully, there are options. And it is a journey, it is a learning process. But if you can be a little bit better than you were even a month ago or a year ago, and you're just going to keep working on your health and wellness.
Just be searching and open to the what if. If it's not going to hurt you, why? Just be open. Doesn't mean you have to agree with just be open to learning.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
An open mind, because there's lots of people out there who want the best for everybody, and again, there are lots of tools and options.
There's just one more thing I want to share with you. This is our liquid collagen. Since we're talking about gut health, when it came out, it was really geared towards skin and hair and nails. But I'm like an autoimmune girl. Is like, I want the gut health. I want good joints. I want decreasing inflammation. And what they just came out with an exciting study that when it's combined with the NRF2, it's making it even more powerful of an antioxidant, decreasing that oxidative stress. That may be a new word for you, oxidative stress. I think of it as inflammation. If you cut an apple in half, leave it on the counter, what's going to happen to it? Kim, go ahead and tell me what happens to it.
I've done it many times, and it browns.
Yeah. And so that's what happens to our cells on the inside. So that's what we're trying to do, is decrease that oxidative stress, that rusting of the cells from the inside out. And when I was on heavy medications, I lost quite a bit of my hair. And the one thing I do, and maybe this is a little vanity, because I do like this for the external, where my hair, I remember my daughter, she has this luscious, I don't even know where she got her curls from, but just this massive mane. She would hold my little tiny pigtail and she's like, oh, mama. And I feel like now I have my hair back after how many years. So, but what's also amazing, just from a medical stance, is that we have 10 peptides in the liquid collagen. Most collagen is 2 peptides. Peptides are just chains of amino acids for proteins. It's our building blocks. Collagen is found in almost every single tissue. As a physical therapist, it's just so important. Collagen 2, that's found in liquid collagen, is fantastic for the gut lining and healing. So I love that. The other thing, it's in liquid form, so it's you can digest it and absorb it easier than a powder. It's in a dark bottle so that it really protects all the collagen, and peptides. So those are kind of a little detail about the collagen.
That's funny. I agree. As far as the collagen goes, who doesn't want to look better on the outside? Great. I would look like Shrek if I felt better, right? I'd be fine with looking like Shrek as long as I felt good. So that doesn't really matter to me, but you know what? I'll take it. And it's just showing what's happening on the inside is happening on the outside, right?
Yes,
It's happening on
beautiful.
a cellular level, and it's surfacing. Because I thought collagen was for hair, nail, skin type of thing, but my goodness, what I've learned in the last year and a half is mind blowing, and I've just again taken my health to a different level.
Yes.
Do some working out, and I just feel like my muscles and my joints, everything just seems to be flowing differently. I just definitely don't feel like as I have a birthday, I'm happy it comes, right? I don't
Absolutely.
I
Good.
don't necessarily feel like it's, oh, I'm older. I feel like, wow, I'm older and I feel good.
Yes, yes. Good. Well, Kim, anything else you would like to share? You guys, I just, I want to be respectful of your time. We were trying to, you thinking, keeping it to a half hour, and I realize that we're going on 45 minutes,
Oh,
but
wow.
I know. So I just want to thank you for hopping on this webinar. And I think the big takeaway is that we want you to notice that life can be different when you decrease that inflammation. Don't stop learning, keep searching. There is hope. Look at diet. Don't underestimate stress. There's different things as far as breath work and meditation and prayer, gratitude, things that we have learned along our path. Food does make a difference in how you feel. There are things that you can do to decrease your inflammation. And so, Kim, I don't know, do you want to do you have it?
Oh, we have it with me. We were going to do that. And
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I'll watch you do it.
Okay.
What we were going to follow my Axio.
We were going to say, we're going to take it.
Uh-huh. Drink it.
And drink it. Cheers to all my autoimmune advocates and warriors. Okay.
It's so enjoy getting to know, I've known you for several years now, and I never knew your story. And so I not only know your story, I relate with it, and I love you dearly.
Likewise. Yeah. You're inspiration. Just to, the first time I met Kim, I think, Kim, were you just coming off your crutches, I think, when I met you?
Possibly.
Yeah. So.
How long have you been activated?
So 5 years.
Mm-hmm. It's probably about right.
Yeah. So good. Well, thank you for sharing your story and sharing hope. And we just thank you for all that got on. I hope that, like I said, our hope was that this would give you value, to give you hope.
And both of us are here to talk to anybody who'd like to have a personal conversation. We're open books, and if you're open to listening, reach out. We can get you a phone number or talk to you on Facebook or whatever works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Have a great afternoon. Oh, I do want to just say one thing. You can tell I'm in Minnesota because I have the turtleneck on, and Kim is in Arizona since she's no sleeves. So.
No sleeves, and my water bottle is hot because it's been sitting here. Oh yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm going up north this weekend, and I'm looking forward to wearing a turtleneck. So cheers.
Good. Okay, cheers. Take care.
Is that still recording?
Recording. I'm just going to stop the recording here. Okay.